Why does vulnerability and leadership matter for your company?
As a leader, if we have it all together and we don't make mistakes and we're strong everywhere, your team's going to be a lot less likely to want to express need for help in certain areas. Problems are opportunities. And when we come across a new challenge, it's growing pains. It is not only happening, it is necessary.
Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I have Daniel Zavodney from ZCI Contracting and Zavodney Consulting, which is a supplementing company, on today. How you doing, Daniel?
I am outstanding, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We're talking about when to show vulnerability in leadership, and this is a huge topic because it's a lot of the biggest leadership consultants and gurus in the world are these like bang your chest tough guys. I love a good tough guy podcast. Like what are these, like, what is it, AF leadership guy or whatever his name is? Do you know what I'm talking about? The 75 hard guy.
Yeah.
Like
Andy Frisella.
Andy Frisella. I love a good Andy Frisella podcast when I need a kick in the butt. But realistically, I do every once in a while think if he was my leader, I think I would be a little turned off by some of the flexing.
Sometimes, yeah, I agree with that.
Where are you out of the country?
We are in Southwest Ohio.
Southwest Ohio, so Midwest.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a cultural like type of area of the
Yeah.
country type thing too. Like I've noticed like sometimes I get along with Midwest people a little bit better because there's a little bit of like if somebody's flexing that hard, sometimes Midwest people just sniff it. Like I don't know about that. So why does vulnerability and leadership matter for your company? And if you could give a little bit of those are two different questions. Could you give a little bit of a background on your company and where you guys are at in the journey?
Yeah, 100%. And I appreciate you having me on, Tim. You have a great podcast.
Thank you.
So we started the consulting firm, which is a supplement company, back in January 2019. I left my position at the contracting company I was in April to do that full time. 2 months after that, a bunch of tornadoes hit our market, and my wife and I started the contracting company, kind of as just like a need in the market. Um, and at the beginning, kind of like we talked about before we jumped on here, it was all about revenue, locations, profitability. What can I get out of this? And come to find out, as I'm sure a lot of your viewers are finding out or have found out, like that's really not what it's all about. There's a lot more to business than the income, and I look at it as impact, and it quickly turned to, okay, what can I do for my team? How many team members can I bring on who can find more joy and fulfillment? How can I place them in areas where they find joy and fulfillment? Which led me to people find joy and fulfillment in different areas. And the places in business where I'm super weak, that's fine. Like we are all born with different God given strengths and abilities and talents to do different things with a different purpose. So realizing I am really bad in a lot of these areas, most areas, and that's okay. And I need to find people who aren't weak in those areas. And me acting like I'm good everywhere is doing everyone a disservice. And I'm procrastinating and I'm not getting stuff done. And sometimes if I do, then I'm doing it halfway. And it's not doing anyone any good for me to act like I'm great at everything. And in doing that, it allows your team to express areas where they're weak or where they may need help. Where as a leader, if we have it all together and we don't make mistakes and we're strong everywhere, your team's going to be a lot less likely to want to express need for help in certain areas. And they're also going to feel very empowered when you can say, I'm horrible at this. You're amazing at this. I'm giving you this to kind of, I need your help to figure this out. And what people tend to help create, you usually get a lot more buy-in. So that it just
Mm.
creates a lot better structure and a lot better direction where everybody is kind of figuring it out together, and people know I'm good here. Even one of the owners of the company isn't good here, but I bring a lot to the table in this area. So it's empowering, it's encouraging, and allows other people on your team to show vulnerability.
Mm. Awesome. Yeah, problems that we have also create opportunities for our team because if they see, hey, this guy is good at certain things, he's not good at certain things, but I'm rooting for it, and ultimately I'm on the same boat as them, then we can patch this boat or put on an extra motor and we're going to go faster. But this is ultimately this is a good boat. You know what I mean? Like, how do you
Right.
still communicate that this is a good boat, even though you've got some problems? You know what I mean? Like, how do you, for you, you've had to sell them the idea of working at your company, right? Like, your company is good and is going somewhere and is growing. And how do you make sure you're still selling that idea of a winning company while still showing this vulnerability and having humility?
Language matters. It's like the way we talk about things matters. So I'm very intentional to, and some some people on my team will like laugh at me when I'm using certain words for, you could say sugarcoating it, but problems are opportunities. And when we come across a new challenge, it's growing pains. It is not only happening, it is necessary. When you grow as a kid, it is necessary to feel some pain before you can grow. So those are all, I look at that as much as I can with excitement. The team sees that. Guys, we're doing all these things really well. We've grown this well, and we just found three other awesome areas of opportunity, and with our quality control inspections or the way we communicate with the customer. Look, we're getting all these great reviews, but look at these areas where we're missing communication spots, these areas of opportunity, of growth, of ways that we can even improve further. So I see problems as exciting. We see those as opportunities, and I hope that translates. Like, obviously, it's, you can still get discouraged, but overall, that's how the team views when things go wrong. For the most part, that's all right. This is great. This is now a new opportunity to make things better in our company and to level up where maybe our competition hasn't.
Absolutely. It makes me think of the that Napoleon Hill quote, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit.
100%.
And it also
No,
it really reminds me of the book Anti-Fragile by Nasib Talib. Uh, and he outlines this idea. If you get into that mode where every problem has a major benefit, and also, like, I asked this question, yes, I didn't want this to happen. But if in 3 months or whatever, the fact that this happened ended up being a really good thing and even better than if it didn't happen, what would I have done to make that true as a
wow,
reaction to
yeah,
this?
that's really good.
And I think that that's essentially what you're describing is like if we understand that every problem that we have as a company like is necessary and it ends up being really good because it usually does, right? Like you get
Right,
to the end of the year and you're like, we wouldn't have innovated if we didn't have that problem. So it's like it's true. It's just
right.
how do we get the team on board with that idea too? Is there any other things that you do like how when people fail in your company, how do you personally react? Because if you get like right, you get really mad or something like that, it's like obviously you're saying never fail. And
Right.
how do you
Yeah, we
react?
don't want people to be afraid of failure, because then, to your point, like, that ends innovation. Everyone's just going to be extremely cautious and careful. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. If you're never going to fail, you're never going to grow. So that's first off, is we don't want to scare people away from ever failing. And then it's exactly to your point, the attitude when it happens, that if I get flustered, if I get upset, man, how could you guys possibly miss this piece in the production process? You guys totally screwed it up. Like, I can't believe that. That is the exact attitude they're going to have with a customer when they
Mhm.
point out something that shouldn't have happened on their job. They'll get discouraged, maybe frustrated with the customer, talk down to the customer. Who knows? Like, the way that we treat our people is the way that our people treats our clients. So if I see it
Mm.
as an opportunity, then they're going to see it as an opportunity. Oh my goodness, Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for pointing out those issues. I am so excited to get that solved for you. We'll take care of that as soon as possible. We're
Mm.
so grateful that you pointed that out, and it's they're going to see it differently from their perspective, and I mean that's the biggest motivator for me beyond them finding joy in the workplace and not being discouraged is how do I want the end user to be treated based on how I'm treating my team.
That's so ridiculously good. And I also think it has to do with their self-talk, right? If you're beating yourself up, well, sorry, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
into therapy for 1 second. My father would freak out if I did something wrong when I was younger. So I have this self-talk problem. And like for instance, we were talking about my wife and I were talking about like clumsiness because yesterday I was at Applebee's and I knocked over a wine glass and it shattered and it was dramatic, but my wife was very calm about it and not weird. She didn't make it weird. She's like, "Oh, we got this. That's fine." And it knocked into the diaper bag. So, like she was probably a little bit annoyed, and so, but she was talking about when she was younger. So her dad had MS, and so he was like always in his wheelchair, and he would like bump into tables and stuff or
Right.
like so they just got used to being really relaxed about when things were wrong. Now I remember when I was little, like if a milk spilled, like I got the like stern kind of voice from my dad, which you didn't want to get. It's
Right.
not like he was abusive or anything like that. It was just like stern and like kind of like that was kind of a big deal what you just did there. And so like that carries over into our failure when we're growing up and like you have to actively excuse me I have to actively um, fight against that because the way I'm talking to myself is the way I'm going to talk to my team too. So
Yeah.
this does not come natural to me is what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
have to calm down and bring calm energy into difficult situations with my team. It's something I'm working on and it's something that's difficult and does require effort, right? You don't, Daniel, you seem like a pretty chill guy, but I'm guessing sometimes you have to like do a couple breathing exercises before you go talk to your team about things. Or how do you stay in that mindset when it's the natural inclination is to have frantic leadership?
Roofers, you want at least 5 solid lead gen tactics building chemistry. Let's say you have door knocking, referral systems, job site branding, and you add in aggressive SEO, paid ads, and boom! Smells like more leads. Hookagency.com.
Yeah. The super credit goes to my wife. We'll hash things out together and reframe. Sometimes there is some negative commentary, but we'll hash that out together, and then okay, but what's the good? Where's the
Mm.
opportunity? And that's how we're gonna talk to the team.
You got to be allowed to vent a little bit with somebody, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's right.
I talked to our leadership team yesterday and I was just like, these need to be small conversations. You're allowed to, you know what I mean? Like we're allowed to have problems. We're allowed to have problems with customers. We're allowed to talk amongst ourselves and say that stinks. I wish they wouldn't have treated us that way or whatever it happens to be, right? But then when you're going to anybody that's on your team that's earlier, like we want to bring an energy that's positive towards our customers. We don't want to sit here and have this. If you're sitting in the office and the office tone is like towards customers in general is like they're shitheads,
Yeah,
you think that doesn't come out in the way you treat your customers. It does.
I'm sure. Yeah,
So people like there has to be a level where you can vent and it's small groups and it's like you don't want to do that downwards into the organization.
ten
Um,
percent on the problem, 90% on the solution.
Ooh, that's a good mindset. I love that. So we're talking about frantic leadership a little bit here. We were talking about before this podcast. We're talking about sometimes there's a cash flow crunch that happens at this point in the year. We're in mid July. It'll be late July when this comes out. Cash flow crunch. You were telling me you believe that that's kind of an earlier company thing. you should be able to hack it if you've got, like, let's say you've got the first check but not the second check for jobs. But that happens at this point of the year. How have you gotten over that? Because I'm sure when you were earlier, that cash flow crunch can sometimes be a little too much to handle if you don't have enough in the bank.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not that it's an earlier company problem specifically. I could
Yeah.
see it being more of a problem for me if I was like a lot of our supplementing clients in Florida, we see huge delays. So
Mm,
massive companies in states that are slower could still face this, even if they are fiscally responsible. But I think for the most part, predominantly, it happens because owners fail to understand when the job is actually profitable. The job is a liability from the very first check you get all the way till the very last check you get, and then you can identify what percentage of that job specifically, based on all your job costs and overhead allocation, was actually profit. And then that should go into early on. I recommend that going into a separate bank account that you actually know, like, this is what the company's profited so far. And everything else is your job cost account. You shouldn't be touching ACV checks or even the rest of the depreciation checks until your books are totally done for that job. And you can say, all
mm,
right, we got 11% profit on this one after overhead is
mm-hmm,
applied. We got 7% profit. I'm moving this to a different account that I actually know I can apply towards marketing, hiring hook, where I can apply it towards, other campaigns. So I think that's a big thing. Roofers get these big checks and they go out and buy trucks. Like, I still drive the same truck that I drove before we started the company. I haven't got a raise in several years. Everything's back into the company. I'm making sure that everyone's going to get paid. Our health insurance is, really good. So
How long have you been doing the company for?
we started both in 2019.
2019. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, like the first 5 years are the hardest, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I'll probably say that the first 10 years are the hardest too. I'm at
Yeah.
six, so 6.5. Okay, so we want to talk about team success as well because you were talking about the financial aspect. You got to check the box. There's a certain point when that's all you can think about, making payroll and making sure that you have enough money to like make your family comfortable. But at a certain point, then it just starts to be luxury items. Where is that point where it's like, I'm good, my family's good. Now it becomes about team success and seeing them level up. Where is that point? Because there is a point where you have to cover the basics in your life, and it's hard to move on to legacy.
Top rep. We're doing top rep then. It's great training.
So you got to have that defined sales process. Check Toki specifically. I don't understand how people make it with a defined sales process as an established company, but just starting out, you definitely need to have that because they need to know, like, and trust you through the whole process in order to give you money.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to be a different line for everyone depending on where they feel like that survival piece has come to an end, because some people are going to expect a lot more directly to themselves right away, whereas me and my wife are my wife and I are fairly content with, we don't need a ton, we'd rather reinvest. So I don't even think maybe if you re-ask the question, I don't know that I have a good answer for
Yeah,
that.
just like what is that point? And you're right. It's just it depends, right, for each person. But I kind of wanted to talk about it because you think about the tendency towards luxury items in roofing and flexing, which is
Yeah.
common. And I think ultimately what we need to realize, and I need to realize, is like every luxury item that I need in business or like as life, it like requires something, right? It requires sometimes overwork, right? There's a comfortable there's I know that we all like in roofing and in kind of I would just say like blue collar work, we pride ourselves on large quantities of work, 60, 70 hours or whatever. But when we do these crazy luxury lifestyles, it requires that. And ultimately, what I want is to be able to make a decision about that. I want to be able to say, I would like to work 60 hours because I enjoy my job. I'm going to work an extra 20 hours. That's what I would personally do as an owner. If I was really into cars, it might require extra effort over here. So just like you're making a decision when we're spending a ton of money in our personal life, it just requires insane amount of hours over here. And I don't know what I'm really saying here. I'm just, yeah, there's always a balancing act, and we're requiring ourselves to work more when we want early rewards in a company.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes to different people are going to have different goals and be fulfilled in different ways. So for me, it's not material possessions. For some people, it is. I think a lot of times also because of this like social media age, people see, okay, this is what a successful company owner drives. This is the type of home a successful entrepreneur lives in. This is the lifestyle. And we attribute other people's goals and what fulfills them to what we think we might want and don't really spend time. A lot of people don't spend time identifying, is that really what's important to me? And is that what I want to work towards? And then, just as importantly, am I willing to sacrifice what that person is sacrificing for that type of lifestyle? Exactly to your point. If you want to work 30 hours a week, but you want the 60-hour a week lifestyle, then you're going to be unfulfilled and you're going to feel like, life's not fair, or why does it always work out for him? Well, he might be sacrificing a lot more than you are. He might be missing birthday parties. He might be not taking family vacations, but you've said that's important to you and you're making time for that. And if it is, then that's great. But you're going to get that, what's the word? A disalignment, where you think you want one thing and you think maybe you deserve it, but you're not, your alignment isn't there with your work ethic and what you're willing to sacrifice.
Woo! That's really good. I agree 100%. I've certainly said, like, there's certain people that have done better than me in business, and I'm not willing to do it. I'm not willing to do what they did.
Right.
And honestly, if I really look at myself, there's a certain like revenue number, even long term. I'm not saying no, never, but I'm not willing to do the $100 million guys. I'll be real. I know myself. I'm not willing to do the stuff that I see them doing. That's the truth for me. And I'm not saying I'm never going to do it, because there might be like a leadership team at some point that like
Sure.
needs that, or like I want to give them opportunities to grow or something crazy, but I'm not personally like willing to do it.
And there's different seasons, right? Like you just had a baby, so like
Yeah.
you're gonna have to scale back the work a little. Then, I'm doing less hours a week. I'm expecting to sacrifice more at home, and then maybe in 2 to 3 years you're able to swing one way. It can be different in different seasons, but
Yeah.
having that alignment and your long term goals and what you know is fulfilling for you, and then ignoring what everyone else is doing, like that.
Yeah, like if you haven't ever done it, just like go out to nature and bring a pad of paper and just be as honest as you possibly can, and not planning on sharing it with anyone. Because sometimes if
Right.
you plan on sharing it with somebody, you stop yourself, like, oh no, I'm saying something about money. No, it's okay to say something about money, and it's okay to just write down everything you'd really want, not what you think you're supposed to want, like all the cars. I don't care about cars. Why do I give a shit? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
personally. So just write it all down. Write down what you actually want. And then that's a good thing to just write down what you think you actually want, and take some time to do that.
And then who do you need to become to get that?
Yeah, and are you will? That's the next question. Like,
Yeah.
are you willing to do it? Because there's just it's not. What is that attraction? Law of attraction. Like, it's not just law of attraction, where you say you want something and then you'll get it. I do think you're more likely to get it if you write things down and you really. But that question that Daniel's asking, are you willing to sacrifice what it takes to get there, is like, that's the real clincher.
Right.
So we're talking about a little bit of Leadership 7. I want to kind of like land on this around aspirational leadership. It's something I like to talk about. Like, it sounds like, oh my God, one second. This is an edit. Swallowed something wrong. How do we want to tackle this? The aspirational leadership thing. Can you hand me a Gatorade? Thank you, sir. I need beverage.
You good?
I'm going to take a 1 minute here.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back into it. We talk about cars and stuff like that and living a dramatic lifestyle maybe for social media sometimes, but sometimes some of that's good for your team too, right? Like, how do you create this balance of like, I want to live in a somewhat aspirational way so that my team can kind of see this vision of what's possible at my company?
Yeah, that's such a good question because you don't want to be bragging about your company and you have a 1996 beat up Honda in the background and they're like that dude's company is like going bankrupt right now, I can tell. So there is that. People need to see, okay, people at your company are leveling up, you're leveling up, there is some material progression there. And yeah, that's a super good question.
Probably the disparity a little bit between like if you're driving a Lambo and your top guy is driving like a 2006
Yeah.
Prius or something like that. Like maybe they didn't have Priuses in 2006, but like
I get the
your
point.
leadership should be going
Yeah.
in an aspirational direction as well, not just you. Because I see a lot of companies where it's like the top guy has got
Right.
the things, but his guy right underneath him does not.
Like, I'm sure you've seen that meme where it's like, I worked super hard this year and I was able to afford this, Lamborghini. If you work this hard again next year, I'll buy another one
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
myself. It's like, yeah, okay. So I guess to answer the question is, in all of our marketing, and I'm sure you train your clients, your marketing is twofold, both for your leads and for your new teammates. They need to see the type of culture they're going to join, as well as your clients seeing the type of the company they're going to work with. So my focus is always like in my marketing, and I don't know if you saw, I shot a live last night. We got a couple Cincinnati Reds executive suites, took both companies out, had an
Nice.
awesome time. And that's typically more what I'm going to focus on is this is a family here. We truly care about each other. We're leveling up and not just finances. They'll talk
That's
about it
awesome.
that they're making more money now than they ever have. But to me, the more rare thing is there's a company that actually cares about you, who is invested in your success beyond just, here's another paycheck.
That's a beautiful spot to probably wrap this up. I think like cultural things, I call it employee branding, but it's
Yeah.
really like all this stuff. Like some people figured out how to get business without marketing well, and that's cool. But for getting people in the door, it certainly doesn't hurt to have good marketing, right? So I love that as a reminder that marketing is also for employees
Right.
and internal employees. Like I think yeah, people that are already there, like them feeling like they work at a cool company is always good. And then you
Oh
guys
yeah.
doing
Them,
stuff
them
together.
getting to share those events and like, pictures up in the executive suites, like baseball fans who have gone across the country and been to all these games, but they've never been in a suite. And like they're getting, taken care of by the host and hostess the whole night. And it's just like they love sharing that and talking about it. And I've gotten comments like, man, you guys, it looks like your team is super close and you have an awesome time. I would love to be at a company where that's done more regularly.
That's awesome. I love that. Daniel, what would you like to share as far as to our audience as a call to action, and where can they check you out?
Um, I mean, our supplementing company is growing really well. We are very slammed with new clients now with all of the storms in Colorado, Carolinas, and Arkansas. We are taking new clients' information, whether or not we can onboard them right away. So if anybody needs help with their supplementing, if anybody just wants to reach out, like I always
Get on
say,
the waiting list for Zavodney Consulting. What's the
I didn't want
.com?
to say that, huh?
It's okay. It's all right. You're oversubscribed, and there's a line. There's a line around the sidewalk for your brunch. You know, it's okay. It's a good vibe. It's good. People respect companies that are doing well and know when they can't sign a current client right at this exact moment. What is the .com for that?
It's the easiest way is just to Facebook message our Facebook account. The new website is under development.
Okay.
We have multiple new estimators training right now. But beyond that, if any of your listeners just want to reach out, you can Facebook message me. I always say relationships over transactions. So I'm not just interested in gaining someone's business. If there's any way I can help anyone,
Hey, for some reason it's saying Daniel Zavodney's browser preventing recording. Could you refresh the page and then let's do this call to action again? Interesting. I've never seen that. All right. Hopefully that worked.
weird.
Daniel, where can people check out Zavodney Consulting for supplementing?
So we've got our Facebook page. You can message the Facebook page. You can message me directly, whether you need help supplementing your claims or if you just need, if you want a copy of our photo checklist. I've written 2 books that can help with supplementing in-house, with setting expectations for your team and your policyholders. Any way that I can help, I would love to help your audience, Tim.
Awesome. And there may be a waiting list for Zavodney Consulting because you guys do such great work. But get on the waiting list, work with them. And then just so people can check out your roofing company, what's the .com for ZCI?
Just zcicontracting.com.
Awesome. And thank you for your time today, Daniel. I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with our audience. The fact that your supplementing company can't take on new customers, but you're still willing to be generous to people and be out here and help other roofers and just companies in general, really, I think, speaks to your character. And it seems like you've got a great company going. So thank you for taking the time.
Man. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. The podcast is put on by hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Thanks, everyone. Bye.